General Hospital spoilers claim that Willow Tate received the worst news of her life in court when Michael Corinthos was awarded exclusive custody of their children. Willow was devastated when Wiley and Amelia Corinthos died, and she quickly spiraled out of control and had to be hospitalized. In a new interview with SOD, Caitlin McMullen discussed Willow's grief and escape from reality. The GH actress eventually went so far as to call it, in a sense, a mental breakdown. Of course, just because Willow has been discharged does not mean she is fine. Even now that Willow has returned to the home she lives with Drew Kane, it is clear that she is still feeling hazy and disoriented. I think she definitely snapped. She definitely had a moment where she snapped in the courtroom, and I think that there is a little bit of delayed processing, maybe even like she's kind of losing it a little bit as she's trying to cope with this feeling of emptiness, according to McMullen. Willow is having difficulty adjusting to life without Amelia and Wiley, so it's understandable that she's losing her mind right now. Willow's custody loss has had a significant impact on her present plot, which will continue to drive it. McMullen certainly couldn't reveal any significant plot information, but she did drop some fascinating hints about what's next. Willow's situation appears to be deteriorating rather than improving. When it comes to Willow's mental health, McMullen confirmed that anything is possible, and emphasized the unpredictability of the situation. As Caitlin McMullen concluded the interview, she encouraged viewers to expect the unexpected. That could point to Willow doing some truly outrageous moves as her mental state deteriorates. Willow may have been responsible for moving Daisy Gilmore Corinthos to the incorrect bassinet in the nursery, according to CDL. Willow could have caused Sasha Gilmore Corbin's momentary baby mix-up. In the episode from June 18th, someone spied on Michael, Sasha, Wiley, Amelia, and Daisy via a Quartermaine mansion window. It may have been Willow if she had run from Drew's house rather than resting as he recommended. Someone will also hover over Daisy's crib in the June 19th episode, so Willow may be doing all of this while blacked out. McMullen basically told fans to brace themselves for more Willow mental health curveballs, so it'll be interesting to watch how wild this story becomes. According to General Hospital spoilers, Willow's escape from reality could end in disaster, so keep an eye out for updates on the mayhem. Willow Tate had always prided herself on being the calm, sensible person who could keep it together as the world around her went out of control. She had faced more sorrow than most during her years in Port Charles, including the heartbreak of losing Wiley, the discovery that the child she had nurtured wasn't hers, betrayal by those she loved, and the physical and emotional torment of battling leukemia. Every chapter of her life had demanded a quiet type of strength, the kind that accumulates in layers when breaking down is just not an option. Strength, however, comes at a cost. And occasionally the strongest people are the ones that fully shatter when they reach their breaking point. Willow's breaking point approached steadily. It did not burst into her life like an explosion. It crept in between the cracks, the stillness of unresolved grief, the loneliness in her marriage, and the constant weight of being supposed to forgive, heal, and go on. People viewed her survival as a miracle. To the outside world, she appeared to have it all. Her health, 2 beautiful children, a devoted husband, and a stable house. What no one noticed was that she was haunted. Haunted by what she had lost, what she had given up, and who she had to become in order to exist. She snapped on a peaceful day. It was not characterized by shouting or violence. It occurred on a Monday morning during breakfast, as she attempted to prepare Wiley's lunch. She reached for the peanut butter and immediately forgot what she was doing. Her hands shook, her breath shortened, and the kitchen around her began to feel like a prison. Wiley's voice, which was ordinarily the loveliest sound she knew, grew distant and muffled, as if it had come through a tunnel. She couldn't speak, could not think, felt like drowning. Michael discovered her moments later, frozen in place, clutching a half-finished meal and staring into space. He called her name twice before she could blink. When she finally glanced at him, her eyes had changed. They were hollow and distant. She looked like herself, but she wasn't present. She didn't recall anything from that morning. She did remember waking up later in the hospital, in a quiet room with soft lighting, with Michael sitting next her, afraid and remorseful. They informed her that she had disassociated, a psychological break caused by intense emotional strain and unresolved trauma. Simply put, she had snapped. Willow did not argue. She did not cry. She quietly listened to the physicians and nodded. But deep down she knew. She had felt it coming for months. It wasn't only cancer. It was more than just Nina's betrayal. It wasn't even the death of Harmony, or the upheaval in her relationship with Michael. It was all of it. Layered, hidden and compounded. She had dressed and neglected 100 wounds until their weight became unbearable. She spent some time in the hospital following the episode for observation. Monica Quartermain paid her a daily visit, bringing comfort and support without judgment. Michael brought Wiley and Amelia to see her at precisely timed intervals. But Willow struggled. Not with her surroundings, the hospital had become familiar, but with the quiet within her. A lack of emotion. It was as if she had turned down the volume of her existence in order to function. When visitors arrived, she smiled as she always did. She was fractured on the inside, though. Caitlin McMullen, who plays Willow, once described her thinking at the time as the aftermath of a quiet storm. The kind that leaves no debris but permanently alters you. Things began to shift abruptly. She received an unexpected letter from Elizabeth Baldwin. Liz had written not as a nurse or a family friend, but as someone who knew what it meant to keep your anguish inside until it broke you. She described her own breakdowns, the years she spent trying to be everything to everyone, and losing herself in parenthood, obligation, and guilt. It was a brutally honest handwritten letter that cut through Willow's numbness as nothing else had. Willow reread it 5 times. She cried. Not the spectacular, theatrical type of crying, but silent tears that fell in waves. That letter made her feel seen for the first time in months. It reminded her that she wasn't alone, and that healing didn't involve reassembling the pieces precisely as they were before. She requested to talk with a therapist. Not simply the one designated by the hospital, but someone who will be there for the long term. Someone who could help her unpack all she had shoved into the recesses of her mind. Therapy became a safe haven, and for the first time she began to reveal the truth. Not the nice, sanitized version of her pain that she had shared with friends and family, but the real deal. She talked about Harmony, the complicated, twisted love she felt for a mother who had lied to her. She talked about Wiley and the shame she felt for resenting him during the worst days of her illness, when she was too weak to hold him. She talked about Michael, the pedestal she had put him on, the pressure she felt to be the perfect wife and mother, and how that strain killed her happiness. Nina's betrayal was not limited to family or secrets. It was about trust. Willow had genuinely tried to let Nina in, to forgive her past faults, and to create something true. But every time she extended a hand, Nina found a way to twist it. Willow had still grinned, still performed the role of peacemaker for Michael's and Wiley's sake. Willow established limits as her healing progressed. She informed Michael that she needed space, not separation, just clarity. She relocated temporarily into the Quartermain Mansion's guest wing. Not out of rage but out of necessity. She needed to find her own voice again. She needed to know who she was when she wasn't promoting wellness for the benefit of others. Michael struggled with it. He wanted to help and fix. But he could not. Not this time. He had to let her go, not forever but just enough to let her breathe. Willow started journaling, walking, taking early morning drives around the cliffs at Port Charles. She found solace in simple things like painting with Wiley, baking with Olivia at Metrocourt, and simply sitting on the docks with a coffee and watching the ocean. Life no longer felt like something she needed to earn. It began to feel like something she could survive. She even reconnected with people she had previously distanced herself from, like TJ, who had been her confidant during her cancer treatment, and Molly, who had witnessed her at her lowest points. They did not seek explanations. They just showed up. One afternoon she found herself in Brando's old garage, not by choice but by instinct. She waited outside watching Sasha, who had become a mother again after her own nightmare, tenderly bounce her baby in her arms. Sasha acknowledged her and grinned. Willow nearly turned away, but Sasha called out to her. They spoke for about an hour. No platitudes. No sugarcoating. Just two ladies who had lost and found parts of themselves multiple times. Sasha told Willow that her breakdown used to make her feel weak, but now she realizes it was the bravest thing she has ever endured. When she broke, the world continued on. It did not shun her. It enveloped her. The embarrassment she feared, that people would perceive her differently, disappeared as she talked about it. People respected her more because she admitted what they were too afraid to face. Months later, the fog began to clear. Not all at once, but rather in pieces. Her laughs flowed more naturally. Her sleep deepened. Her joy returned in unexpected bursts. Watching Amelia take her first steps, seeing Wiley lose his first tooth, and dancing barefoot in the Quartermain garden when she thought no one was looking. Michael watched her from afar, his heart aching with admiration. He had loved her before, but he was now learning to love her for who she was, not what he wanted her to be. They started talking again, not about schedules or errands, but about their anxieties, dreams, and the spaces between them. She talked of returning to nursing. Not immediately, but eventually. She missed caring for others. She missed the hospital despite the sad memories. She wanted to use her expertise to assist those experiencing mental health crises. To become the person she once needed. She and Nina reached a silent agreement. Not reconciliation, not yet. But I understand. Nina apologized again, this time without expecting forgiveness. It's just responsibility. Willow, while wary, listened. The door did not entirely open, but it cracked. The day Willow formally finished her medical leave and returned to General Hospital as a volunteer, the halls felt different. She strolled with a tranquility she had not experienced before. She wasn't the same woman who had walked into that establishment months before, frozen and shaking with a sandwich in her hand. She was whole again, not because she had fully healed, but because she had stopped pretending she wasn't injured. Caitlin McMullen captured this story so well. Every gaze, every guarded expression. She brought to life a woman who was simultaneously unraveling and refining herself. Willow's journey was not about perfection. It was about being honest. About finally admitting that holding things together does not equate to being okay. The General Hospital recap for Wednesday, June 18th, reveals that Trina Robinson shooed the documentary filmmaker away and waited with Kai Taylor as he visited with his surgeon, Dr. Mohinder. According to Kai's most recent test results, the surgery did not perform well enough for him to play football or any other contact sport again. Kai was upset, so Trina once again encouraged the documentary filmmaker to leave. Trina did her best to console Kai, who was distraught that his goal had been destroyed for good this time. Trina did not want Kai to be alone right now, but he insisted on doing things on his own. She was upset at Drew Kane and Willow Tate's house because she had lost money while gambling with her kids. Drew assumed the blame, acting as if he should have known how vile Michael Corinthos was. Drew stated Martin Gray had proposed another method to assist them get the custody issue reopened. Willow was concerned that Drew's suggestion that they marry would backfire on the judge. Drew, on the other hand, believed that this move would elevate them to the status of a solid marriage. Drew attempted to persuade Willow that this was in their best interests because they were already planning to marry. Willow was too exhausted and overwhelmed to make a decision right now, so Drew sent her to rest in the bedroom. When Kai arrived at the door later, he informed Drew that the documentary was not going to turn out as they had hoped. Michael and Sasha Gilmore Corbin met at the Quartermain mansion to discuss Daisy Gilmore Corbin's custody problem. Sasha didn't want Michael's name on the birth certificate and intended to raise the kid on her own. So Michael was concerned she was shutting him out of Daisy's life. Sasha assured Michael that this was not the case, and that Daisy would recognize Michael as her father. Michael understood Sasha's decision, but he wanted it in writing that if anything happened to her, he would become Daisy's legal guardian. Wiley and Amelia Corinthos joined Sasha and Michael, and they all gathered around Daisy for a nice moment together. Meanwhile, someone spied on the joyous scene from the window. In Curtis Ashford's office, he resisted Portia Robinson's kiss and requested more time. When Jordan Ashford arrived, Curtis spoke with her privately about how his marriage may have already ended. Jordan contacted Anna Devane on her way out, hoping to meet up since she was in need of a companion and a stiff drink. Isaiah Gannon crossed paths with Rick Lansing and revealed that Lucky Spencer had left town. Because Rick appeared to be extremely attracted to Elizabeth Baldwin, Isaiah stated unequivocally that he would look out for Liz while Lucky was away. If Rick messed with Elizabeth, he'd be messing with Isaiah. Rick convinced Isaiah that Liz did not need his protection. Afterward, Isaiah approached Portia to question her about Rick, fearing he'd erred by mentioning Lucky's departure. Portia was certain that Elizabeth could handle Rick alone. Trina found Portia later and informed her about Kai's dismal surgery outcome. As the subject went to Drew, Trina expressed her strong dislike for the man. Elizabeth then met with Alexis Davis, who revealed that Laura Collins had begged for her assistance. Martin Gray expressed an interest in Elizabeth suing the automobile firm, but Liz simply wanted to move on from the accident. Christina Corinthos Davis encountered Cody Bell in the Metro Court pool, who said that he alerted a staffer about Ava Jerome's reservation. Since Ava was on her way, Cody encouraged Christina to go. Christina ended up spying on Cody while he flirted with Ava, at least until Liz called to ask Christina to a meeting. When Christina paid a visit to Elizabeth, Liz stated she knew Christina was to blame for the automobile accident. Elizabeth related what Lucky had informed her about Christina accidentally cutting the brakes on Ava's car and sabotaging Rick's vehicle. Despite her displeasure with the danger, Liz eventually admitted that she was not going to tell Christina anything. That said, Elizabeth would not hesitate to turn Christina in if she committed any additional vengeful acts. Rick was skeptical of Christina and Liz's talk when he arrived, but he got no information. Rick had heard of Lucky's departure and wanted to come check on Elizabeth. Back with Cody, he showed off his chest to Ava at the pool and bonded with her over poker. Ava reminisced about playing cards with Kiki Jerome, who enjoyed hustling people for the excitement of it. Cody was sorry when Ava disclosed that her daughter had died, but Ava smiled at the memories and the opportunity to talk about Kiki again. Molly Lansing Davis arrived to the pool and did not seem thrilled that Cody had connected with Ava. Alexis saw Molly soon after, and Molly expressed her displeasure with Cody and Ava's bonding time. According to General Hospital spoilers, Cody and Christina's scheme may result in terrible news, so keep an eye out for updates on any issues that arise. The anxiety in Port Charles rose to new heights as an unknown threat loomed over the Quartermain estate. The large estate, which is generally a symbol of riches and stability, became a source of concern as a mystery figure lingered in the shadows, watching the family's comings and goings with disconcerting intensity. The stalker's presence was felt rather than seen. A flicker of movement in the garden, a rustle of foliage where no breeze blew, and an unsettling sense of being watched that sent shivers down the spines of those inside. Inside the estate, the Quartermains were distracted with their typical dramas, unconscious of the danger lurking outside. Ned, still adjusting to life following his memory loss, had a heated conversation with Olivia regarding his future at ELQ. His frustration was evident as he attempted to reconcile the man he once was with the man he had become. Olivia, the ever-supportive wife, attempted to soothe him, but the weight of his identity dilemma hung heavy in the air. Nearby, Brooklyn and Chase shared a private moment, their love story blossoming despite the turmoil around them. Even their happiness couldn't erase the foreboding aura that seemed to permeate the place. Meanwhile, Monica Quartermain, the family matriarch, suspected something was wrong. She stood by the window, frowning as she looked out at the darkening grounds. "Have you seen that?" she asked Drew, who had just entered the room. Drew followed her line of sight, but noticed nothing unusual. Monica's instincts were rarely wrong, and the discomfort in her voice set him on edge. Drew exchanged a worrisome look before deciding to explore by going outdoors into the night. Drew's foot touched the gravel path, and a figure scurried behind a tree, barely visible in the low light. Drew yelled out, "Who is there?" but got no response. The silence was terrible, interrupted only by the distant hum of the metropolis. He walked slowly forward, his senses on high alert, but the stalker had already fled into the darkness, leaving just the smallest sign of their presence, a single footprint in the damp earth. Back inside, the atmosphere was tight. Tracy, ever the skeptic, rejected Monica's fears as paranoid. "This house has stood for decades," she stated with a wave of her hand. "No one would be foolish enough to target the Quartermains," she said, but her bravado did little to alleviate the rising fear. The family's customary fighting took on a harder edge, with remarks tinged with hidden terror. As the night progressed, the stalker's motivations remained unknown. Were they after vengeance, money, or something much more personal? The uncertainty gnawed at the Quartermains, making them more vulnerable than they had been in years. The home, once a fortress, now felt like a golden prison, its people locked in a game they didn't fully comprehend. Kiki's memory bonds Cody and Ava. While the Quartermains contended with an invisible threat, Cody and Ava were drawn together by their shared grief over the loss of Kiki Jerome. The memory of the vivacious young woman whose life was tragically cut short remained with them both, and in their grief, they discovered an unexpected kinship. Ava, who is typically guarded and sharp-tongued, let her defenses down while sitting opposite from Cody at the Metro Court bar. The two had never been close, but the weight of Kiki's absence formed a link between them. She had this way of lighting up a room, Ava said, swirling her glass absent-mindedly. No matter how dark things got, Kiki always found a way to smile. Cody nodded, his usual arrogance tempered by genuine passion. Yes, she did. And she never kept a grudge, even when people didn't deserve her kindness. His voice was tinged with remorse, evoking his own troubled relationship with Kiki. The topic went to what-if scenarios, the life Kiki could have had, the love she could have found, and the future that had been snatched from her. Ava's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and her normal demeanor slipped. I failed her, she confessed quietly. As a mother, as a friend, I should have protected her better. Cody reached across the table and placed a comforting hand on hers. You cannot blame yourself, Ava. Kiki would not want that. The little gesture said volumes, tearing down the walls between them. Ava felt less alone in her mourning than she had in a long time. Their friendship became stronger as they swapped stories, some bittersweet, some funny. Cody recalled Kiki's unwavering faith in second chances, while Ava reflected on her daughter's intense loyalty and compassion. The more they talked, the more they understood how much of Kiki remained in the people she had influenced. By the end of the evening, what had begun as an unpleasant encounter had evolved into something significant. Ava even managed a slight smile. I never expected to say this, Cody, but thank you for remembering her in the correct way. Cody returned the smile. Anytime, Ava. She deserved to be remembered. As they parted ways, each felt a fresh sense of purpose. The pain of loss would never go away, but in each other, they found someone who understood. And in a community as unpredictable as Port Charles, that kind of relationship was uncommon and valuable. Stalker's next move. Back at the Quartermain mansion, the lurking figure remained at loose, their intentions unknown. Drew's brief meeting outside had simply verified that the threat existed, but without additional information, the family was left in a condition of nervous expectation. As the episode came to a close, the camera switched to a shadowy area of the estate, where a gloved hand reached into a coat pocket and took out a folded image. The artwork, somewhat crumpled, depicted a younger Quartermain with a terrible secret related to the stalker's vendetta. The figure's lips twisted into a cruel smile before returning the photo to their pocket and disappearing into the night, leaving just one unsettling question. Who will be the next target? This recap captures the suspense of the lurking stalker as well as Cody and Ava's emotional connection, while also expanding on character interactions and underlying tensions. If you need any further information or a different focus, please let me know. In Curtis' office, Portia tells her husband that she wishes she had told him about Drew earlier, and tells him how much she loves him. They move in for a kiss, but Curtis pulls back and isn't ready yet. She understands she must earn his trust back and hopes she gets that chance. Jordan knocks on the door, realizes she's interrupting, and goes to depart. However, Curtis tells her to stay. Curtis says he'll see Portia at home, where they'll have more privacy. Portia heads out, and Jordan apologizes to Curtis for causing problems. He says she didn't, and he just got the news that Drew wants Aurora to write a hit piece on Michael. Curtis says he came clean with Michael and even offered his resignation, but Michael wouldn't take it. Michael even suggested he let Drew think he's won for now. At the hospital, Rick flags Isaiah down and is looking for Liz. Isaiah explains that Liz took a personal day, as Aiden just left for Europe with Lucky. Rick is surprised to hear Lucky's split, but is also concerned about Liz. Isaiah says Liz can take care of herself, and he'll look out for Liz while Lucky is gone. He warns Rick if he messes with Liz, he messes with him. Rick insists that Liz doesn't need protection from him. Josh, the documentarian, follows Trina and Kai around the hospital. Today is the day Kai meets with the doctor to learn if he can play football again. Trina hopes this documentary ends when Kai gets the all clear. Kai says it ends when Drew says it ends, and he knows she doesn't like the guy, but he does. He suggests they just agree to disagree on Drew, and hopefully they'll be celebrating soon. Kai and Trina meet with the doctor, who says his latest test results show that the titanium hasn't fused to his spine sufficiently to compensate for the original fracture. Kai asks, "That's it?" I'll never play football again. Trina directs Josh to turn the camera off. Trina asks if Kai's condition can improve in time, but the doctor says this is as good as it gets. He can be involved in sports, just no contact sports, as it could be catastrophic if he got hit again. Kai thanks the doctor for everything he's done for him so far. Josh pulls up the camera to film and asks how Kai's feeling. Trina warns Josh that she will drop-kick him and the camera out of the window if he doesn't stop filming. Josh says he's sorry and runs out of the office. The doctor also leaves them. Trina asks Kai if there is anything she can do for him. He says it's all over. There is nothing she can do. Trina believes he'll be able to move forward again, as he was after the initial accident. Kai says he was lying about being optimistic about a future without football. Since he discovered the surgery, he thought he'd have everything back. He wasn't considering a future without football. Now it's all gone and he was so damn close. Kai apologizes for losing it, and admits he's not used to being this vulnerable. He needs to get going as there is something he needs to do. Trina thinks he needs time to process this news, but Kai insists he'll be fine. He has something to do and he needs to do it alone. He says he'll call her and walks off. Isaiah seeks Portia out and tells her about his run-in with Rick, and that Liz is still hurting over Lucky's departure. Portia knows that sometimes, feelings for an ex never go away, just ask Jordan. At home, Liz speaks with Alexis about her accident. Alexis heard Martin pressuring her to sue the car company, and Laura asked her to talk things over with Liz as an objective lawyer, not out to make money, about the chances of a lawsuit. Liz appreciates the concern, but she's ready to put this behind her and won't be going to court. At the pool, Christina checks in with Cody, who is relaxing on a lounge chair. He says he's paid the pool manager to tell him when Ava books a pool day she's on her way, so scram. She leaves, Ava appears, and Cody quickly unbuttons his shirt. He calls Ava over and invites her to sit next to him. She thanks him, explaining it's such a nice day that she thought she'd do some work by the pool. Christina lurks and spies from a distance. As she watches them, Christina gets a call from Liz, who tells her to come by her place as it's important. Cody chats up Ava and says this pool is great, but his favorite are the pools in Vegas. Ava loves Vegas, which gets them talking about gambling in Sin City. Molly appears and spots Cody talking with Ava. Alexis meets with Molly at the pool and comments that this isn't her daughter's usual hangout. Molly says she's been trying new things out, but not everything seems to be working. She vents to her mother that Cody cozying up to Ava doesn't sit right with her, as it's bad enough she's dating her dad. Alexis asks if she and Cody are friends. Molly says they have gotten closer, and he's been there for her a few times. Ava and Cody continue to chat, and Ava mentions Kiki and how they love to play cards together. Cody learns she passed away and is sorry if he brought up bad memories, but she tells him that she likes to talk about Kiki because it makes her smile. Back at Liz's place, she tells Christina that Lucky told her everything about the accident. Christina apologizes and says something in her just snapped. Christina rambles as she explains everything that happened, and she was going to confess if anything happened to her and Rick. Liz says that, given they were only just seriously injured, she stayed quiet and let Lucky cover for her. She admits she was furious when Lucky told her, and the only reason she didn't call the cops was because Lucky would be charged as an accessory. Now, however, he's out of the country. Christina asks if she's going to turn her in. Liz says no matter how much Christina despises Ava, there is no justifying what she did. Christina knows, and she'll understand if Liz turns her in. Liz isn't going to, as her family has been through enough pain, and she's abiding by Lucky's wishes and will stay quiet. However, she warns Christina that if she does anything like this again, she'll turn her in to the cops in a heartbeat. They're interrupted when Rick arrives at the door.